Right, so you want to be President of the United States, the leader of the free world, someone who gets that lovely Oval Office and your own bowling alley in the basement of the White House. But wait, how do you actually make it to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue? How does the whole process from dream to reality actually work?
Said if this music thing doesn't work out, you can always run for president.
Well, this video is going to explain every single step you need to take to make it to the White House. Okay, you're starting out from scratch and you're trying to get nominated by a party not currently in the White House. How do you even know if you're in with a shot? For a start, legally, you have to have been born in the United States, lived there for 14 years, and be over 35. And if you don't tick all those boxes, sorry, you can't be president. So that's me out for a start. I'm under 35. So what job exactly puts you in the best position to run for the White House? Well, it helps if you've either been a lawyer or you've served in the military. In fact, of all the people who've been president, only 3 of them have not done one of those 2 things. But some have had some more unusual jobs. Ronald Reagan, he was a former Hollywood star. Andrew Johnson, he was a tailor. And Jimmy Carter, he ran a peanut farm. But one thing that really helps is having held some kind of political office, like nearly every president has, except of course businessman and reality star Donald Trump. Right, your next big task is raising money, and lots of it. Trump and his backers spent about $73 million on getting the Republican nomination in 2016, including $50 million of his own cash. And Democrat hopeful Bernie Sanders raised nearly $35 million in the final 3 months of 2019, mostly from grassroots donations.
I believe in democracy, not billionaires owning the system. Our campaign is funded by the working people of this country.
Right, so you've got some cash in the bank and you're now ready to launch a campaign. You're going to need to make sure you start early. Barack Obama announced his candidacy in February 2007, nearly 2 years before Election Day.
I stand before you today to announce my candidacy for President of the United States of America.
That's because at the beginning of the election year, your party will hold votes in all 50 states to decide who will be their candidate. These are the primaries, state-by-state mini-elections. Now, some have closed primaries. That means only registered members of a party can vote. But some have open primaries, where any member of the public, even someone who's a registered supporter of the opposing party, can take part. And then others use caucuses. Now, they're basically big public meetings where voters discuss their choices openly, and then they decide who they want to support. Now, this is where it gets really exciting, because if you win in Iowa, the first caucus, you can get momentum and go on and win the whole thing. That's what happened for Jimmy Carter in 1976. He came out of nowhere and won it all. The same too for Barack Obama in 2008.
At this defining moment in history, you have done what the cynics said we couldn't do.
But remember, winning Iowa doesn't always mean you're going to win the whole thing, because the Republican person who won in 2008, 2012 and 2016 did not go on to be the Republican nominee. Come February or March, you'll face one or more Super Tuesdays when dozens of states are up for grabs in a single day.
12 states, over 1,600 delegates. Could it all come down to this one night?
It'll be huge.
And then by the summer, it'll be pretty clear which candidate is out in front. But it's not over yet. There's another important milestone, the National Convention.
It's a party celebrating a popular president and a big lead in the polls.
That's where your party officially announces its nominee, through delegates from each state. But wait, what's a delegate? Well, they're people chosen to represent their state at the convention, and they cast votes for the presidential nominee. They make their decision based on who won the primary or the caucus in their state. But remember, just because you won a caucus or a primary doesn't mean you get all the delegates from that state. That's decided by each state depending on their own specific rules. So let's imagine you secure an overall majority of delegates at the convention. Well, congratulations, you're now the presidential candidate for your party.
I humbly and gratefully accept your nomination
For President of the United States.
And the race for the White House can really begin. Now, if you thought you'd spent loads of dosh in the primaries, just wait till you see how much you're going to need for the rest of the campaign. In the final 6 weeks of the 2016 race, Hillary Clinton and her backers spent $360 million. That's more than she spent in the first 6 months of the year, and she still lost. So you're going to have to make sure you've got deep pockets. And you better be good in front of a camera too, because there are going to be 3 big TV debates coming up. Now, the first time a presidential debate was held was back in 1960, when John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon went head-to-head in front of an audience of 66 million people. The battle was considered a defeat for Nixon, who was famously a bit sweaty under the lights, and he went on to narrowly lose the election. And the TV debates have given us some memorable moments down the years, like Ronald Reagan's quip about age when even his opponent chuckled.
You already are the oldest president in history.
I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience.
And Donald Trump's strange body language around Hillary Clinton.
If you have serious health problems. And number 3.
Well, the most important thing about the debate is just to make sure that you don't mess them up. All that's left now is polling day. Weirdly though, you're not trying to necessarily get the most votes from the public. Your aim is actually to win the most votes in the Electoral College. And here's how it works. Whichever candidate gets a majority of the 538 electors wins the White House. So the magic number is 270. But wait a minute, why 538? Well, each state is given electors based on the number of people it sends to Congress. So California has the highest population, about 40 million people, and therefore they send the most representatives to Washington, along with the 2 senators that every state gets. Add that all up, and California has 55 Electoral College votes, the most in the country. On the other hand, 7 states, along with the District of Columbia, only get 3 Electoral College votes because they have smaller populations and therefore send fewer representatives to Washington. So here's the thing, it's not necessarily about winning the most votes from the people, it's actually about winning the most of these electors. Let's take Hillary Clinton's loss in 2016. She won nearly 3 million more votes than Donald Trump across the country. But Donald Trump's votes were concentrated in the right places, where the Electoral College numbers could get him past that magic 270. So take Michigan, for example. Trump only won here by 0.23%. So of 4.8 million votes cast in that state, he won by just 10,000 more. But crucially, he took all 16 Electoral College votes. The same thing happened in Pennsylvania. 6 million votes were cast. Trump won by just 40,000 votes. But again, he took all 20 Electoral College votes. So there it is. If you want to be president, all you need to do is this. Have a good background. Being a lawyer or a veteran helps a lot, and make sure you have some decent political experience, unless you're President Trump, of course. Then hit the ground running and raise about $1 billion from the public, probably big business, small donations can work, and maybe top it up with your own cash if you happen to be so lucky. Then you're going to have to crisscross the whole country, shake hands and kiss babies in those key early primary and caucus states so that you can gain momentum going into the convention. And then you've got to do it all over again, crisscross the country, shake hands and kiss babies as you gear up for the November election. And don't forget, it's not about the number of votes from the public that you get, it's where you get them from.
Donald Trump has won the state of Pennsylvania.
That is the race, frankly.
So focus on the Electoral College and how you can get over that magic 270 to win. And that's it. You're in the White House. Enjoy it for the first year or so, because your re-election campaign will basically begin very, very soon. And you have to do all that all over again.